What is going on, ladies and gentlemen? Welcome to episode number 91 of the Talking ATL Hawks podcast. You got the best crew in the nation with myself, John Joyner, and Andrew Jefferson. Fellas, it is a beautiful, beautiful week just in general. You know, it's like every week. Every weekend that we reach is just another weekend closer to college football. And I know this isn't a college football group chat, but that's just one of the most beautiful times of the year. And do you know what happens like right towards the middle of the college football season? The return of NBA basketball. So we are also getting closer to NBA basketball as well. Summer's coming to the end, but that just means bangers and bangers on top of fall sports. Which, in my opinion, I think fall sports is just the best time of the year. You got NBA
100%.
basketball returning, college football, you got the MLB playoffs. If you're a soccer fan, the MLS playoffs happen during that time too. It's just a beautiful time of the year. But
College
before we get
basketball comes back in we October or November as well.
college basketball, thank you, John. That completely slipped my mind. But yeah, college basketball back and NHL. See, I can keep going like banger after
There we
banger,
go.
man.
October 1st, we got ourselves a trip up to Nashville.
That is true. If y'all, y'all wouldn't know. I don't know why I was gonna act like y'all would know this, but I think we actually mentioned it on the last podcast. I can't remember.
You did because I whipped out the controversial Preds Smashville glasses that y'all seem to really like.
Yeah, no, that's what I'm gonna try and like screen record. I'm gonna make a meme out of it.
Yeah, well,
it's very memeable.
After October 1st, whatever that following weekend is, or whenever we record our next podcast after that, we will all be wearing Preds in the community T-shirts. It's not what you think it means, but we will be wearing it.
I'm not wearing that.
John, you'll be wearing it all right. John will be wearing it all right. Andrew has a question.
Well, it's not a question. It's just, we were talking about memes over here, but do you know what else is memeable?
Hang on. Andrew, you pause, because you're going to be the perfect segue. You're going to be the perfect segue, so don't you do it. But first, I can't take the spotlight here. I have two beautiful men on my screen as well. Andrew, we'll start with you. How's your week been? And don't do it. Don't you do it. Hands up, buddy. Don't you dare do it.
Okay.
You'll know when the time is right. You will know when the time is right.
It's been a pretty good week. Just golfing.
That's awesome, Andrew. John, how's your week been?
It's been good. I went to my first ever minor league baseball game yesterday, courtesy of John Howley, good old friend of y'all and mine. He works with the Gwinnett Tigers. Got some free tickets. And got a fish head that I don't know where it is right now, but I got a fish head, and then it was a good game.
Well, why is it not on your head right now? This would be a perfect time to
I honestly have no idea where it is.
Dang. Well, that was such a legendary pull.
It was.
I'll see if I can find it, but
all right, Andrew. I'll let you finish what you were saying. How's your week been?
I mean, I pretty much summed it up. Just twisted T's and double B's.
What? Don't even get me started on twisted T.
What?
Don't even get me started.
Twisted golf tees and double B's as in double bogeys. That's what I meant.
Okay. By that. I thought you said double D's as in like bra size. I was like,
yeah,
what are you talking about?
Because you're a dirty boy.
That's what I thought you said.
It's a Sunday, Chase. It's a Sunday. Go to church.
I went to church this morning. I was just making sure my brother in Christ right here was in the right mind.
Yeah.
Okay. I'm glad we're level. But now that we have that out of the way, it is time to get into the real discussion. And if you want to know, what we're going to open the episode about, I'm sure y'all all know, but Andrew's going to sing his heart out, let us know what the real conversation is today.
Oh, no.
I'm talking about the man on the Sixers, LeBron James. I'm asking you to say his name. And no message could have been any clearer. If you want to make the world a better place, take a look at this guy and say his name. LeBron Yeah.
LeBron James, ladies and gentlemen, the moment we all been waiting for. He was quite literally the man who was delaying the NBA releasing their schedule because they're trying to figure out where this man was headed to. And, we knew it was down to three realistic options. Going back home to Cleveland,
Going back home to Cleveland, then what? Um.
Uh,
Okay. Okay.
whose phone is he on?
He's on his, I believe.
Sorry for that brief interruption. I had a buddy call me and it kicked me off. But as I was saying, we knew it was down to three realistic locations. Going back home to Cleveland, which I felt like would have been the right way for him to go.
For sure.
Um, Going back to Miami to South Beach and join Giannis, or the 76ers was a name that was really flowing out there. Now, if you were kind of paying attention to the sports world, they talked a lot about on the early morning and afternoon ESPN show. There was an odd thing that happened earlier in the week where the Miami Heat YouTube channel accidentally started a live stream
Accidentally.
accidentally started a live stream that said, something about a press conference. I can't remember
It was
exactly what the
literally
name.
titled LeBron James Miami Heat press conference.
I
Is
couldn't
literally
remember if it had LeBron's name in it or not, but I
well, it
think you're
did.
right, Andrew.
It
Well, it
did.
did.
It did have LeBron's name in it.
LeBron James press conference, and then they quickly ended the live and made a statement. That was a mistake. This is nothing related to LeBron coming to Miami. And everybody on the early ESPN show, like Kendra Perkins, was like, "Yeah, that just can't be true. How do you accidentally release such a specific live stream on your YouTube
Oh,
channel?"
whoever that intern was, he lost his job
Oh no, they
immediately.
already fired him. They already fired him. Yeah,
They
Yeah,
fired him.
yeah,
I
they fired him.
think
Yeah.
I figured
Oh
because
my!
literally on the live stream, if you click the live stream, it had like a live comment section, and like thousands of people were fully committed. Even so much that some people went ahead and bought season tickets for that year because they thought LeBron was going to be in Miami.
I would
So that,
imagine.
that that screwed so many people up.
I would imagine that LeBron James was like he chose Miami, like he was gonna go to Miami, and then he saw that they prematurely released a press conference video on YouTube. He's probably like, nah, these people are needy. I'm not going to Miami anymore. And then he switched to Philadelphia, born and raised. Um, I was trying to do a Fresh Prince of Bel-Air thing.
I was
I
gonna say
forgot
that
the
was that
Yeah.
was accurate in the hell.
I fumbled. I forgot the lyrics of the theme song, and I just fumbled there. That was a missed opportunity.
In
Now I'm
West
ashamed.
Philadelphia, born and raised. I mean, yeah, I guess.
Yeah, I'm sorry, y'all. That was that was a perfect layup opportunity. I completely botched it. But yeah, LeBron James to the
Not the
Philadelphia
first time you've missed a layup.
76ers. John, I'm gonna kick it off to you first, John. What are your initial thoughts on this LeBron James signing, and did it surprise you in any way that he chose Philadelphia over Cleveland and Miami?
I mean, like, I don't think that. First of all, like this morning, it was reported that he was down to Golden State in Philadelphia, but at 1 o'clock in the morning, he decided for Philadelphia. So he already removed Cleveland and Miami from those options, and it was down to teaming up with Steph Curry in Golden State, and it was down to Philadelphia. I mean, and like, woman like, woman just cause like, woman like the tweet that I put out like moments after like Shams reported him going to Philly. The whole tweet that he put out, like, it just makes perfect sense. He I mean, like, this Philly team, it like is perfectly built to compete for a championship, and I don't think that he could compete with the championship if he had gone to Golden State. I mean, because like, let's be honest, like he's 41, 42 going to this. I think he's going to be 42 going into the season, or um or come December. I mean, so like, he's not the same LeBron that he was 10 years ago. I mean, yes, he's still scoring at on a consistent rate. But he also said that that being the main scorer on his team. His next team wasn't going to be his priority. So he's got like maybe 3 or 4 other scorers that can score the ball besides him in Jalen Brown, Tyrese Maxey, BJ Edgecombe, Joel Embiid, assuming he can stay healthy. I mean, so he's got like the talent around him to help him compete in the East, but also like the East like this year is very, very, very stacked. Now they got LeBron James. They're already stacked. Philly squad. Um, uh, Toronto got Kawhi in that hypothetical trade, assuming that trade goes through. Um, uh, uh, the NBA gets done and this season, the whole thing that's gone through. The Knicks just won a championship. Um, Tyrese Halliburton's coming back to the Pacers, who also got Zubats. The Hawks are going to be a competitive team, hopefully this year. I just think that like the East is going to be very uh, competitive this year, and like I honestly think that he would have been better off going to a West team like maybe Denver or someplace like that. Just because I think that the West this year is more wide open than the East, and that's mostly my thoughts. But me handle like maybe hey, maybe he just wants to be like one of those like legendary guys that plays for a stable city like Philadelphia, because we don't know like how bad like Philadelphia fans are.
Oh, yes, we do. Yes, we do. And yeah, that was well said, John. I've got a lot of things to add to that as well. First and foremost, just kind of going off with what you end, John, there's a lot of noise on social media, as I figure there was going to be once LeBron James made this announcement, that LeBron James is always trying to stack teams. That's just the word around the block since this news came out. And let me say this. Let me say, I'm not a LeBron James glazer like a lot of people out here. Yes,
I don't know. As much as he's sing that song, I'm starting to question.
Well, listen, that song hits, brother. That song hits. But
It does.
I agree.
It does.
I agree. I agree.
and I will break out into it at any moment. So just beware. But yes, I am on the side of the GOAT debate that LeBron is the GOAT, but I'm not a LeBron glazer. But I will say this in his defense. LeBron James has nothing left to prove. I mean, he has had a extraordinary career. He has broken the scoring record. He holds so many franchise records for all the teams that he's played for. He's won his fair share of NBA championships, fair share of MVPs. He's been an all-star pretty much every year he's been in the NBA. And he's been all NBA first team multiple seasons as well. And here's the thing about that. LeBron wants to go out the right way. He wants to go out winning a championship. And Joyner's right. Yeah, yes, LeBron is aging, and we know that he can still drop good numbers on a night-to-night basis, but he is definitely not in a position to carry a team. So, yeah. And I'm not saying him going to Cleveland or Miami would have required him to carry that team, so to speak, but he's going to go to the team that's going to give him the best foot in the door to an NBA Finals. And I think Philadelphia could not have been a perfect destination. And it's a new opportunity for him as well, just to add to the list of teams he's already played for. And it's an attractive city, like Joyner said. Like for a guy like LeBron and for his fan base that strong, I mean, that is going to be a very fun watch for not just Philly fans, but NBA fans around the league. And, and they're not done. I mean, right after they got LeBron, they signed Contavious Caldwell-Pope to
just for kicks and giggles.
Yeah, to load the bench that's already got so many great weapons on it already. And it's like Joyner said as well. Like, yes, you can make the argument that LeBron went to the Sixers to stack the team. But if you want to make that argument, don't sit here and tell me that with that team, the East is going to be a cakewalk. Because even though they do arguably have the best record in the league, I'm not going to roster, whatever. Yeah, roster. I'm not going to flat out say that they have a top to bottom better roster than the New York Knicks. On paper, sure, it looks like a better roster, but I would argue that the Knicks work better as a team because, I mean, they've already established that connection, and who knows how this Philadelphia team's going to flourish. Now, they'll have it all figured out by postseason, but if you put the Knicks and the Sixers in a 7-game series, I think that series goes to 7. I don't think it heavily leans one way or the other. And of course, I don't think they're just going to cakewalk the entire Eastern Conference. As a matter of fact, I don't even think the Sixers finished first in the East. I think the Knicks are still going to finish first in the Eastern
Conference. That's what I'm saying. Honestly, like East. Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Like this Eastern Conference this year is probably the most stacked it's been since LeBron was in Miami or Cleveland the last time.
Yeah. And just let me finish my point. I'm almost done. I promise. So if you're gonna make the argument that LeBron's going to a team for a so-and-so cakewalk, then you can't hinder his accomplishment if they do end up getting out of the East and making the NBA Finals, because that in and of itself, even with that roster, is going to require a lot of work from LeBron James, and I think that's got to be respected on all levels. And also keep in mind that this is not quote unquote a retirement tour for LeBron James, at least not this year, because it is a 2-year contract. Now, it very well could be because there is a player option tied to that. So if LeBron does win the finals this year, who's to say he doesn't go ahead and hang up the shoes right there because there's no better way to go out? Well, it could be his final season, but nothing is set in stone quite yet. So, yeah, just keep that in mind.
And jumping back to your point about the New York Knicks too, yeah, you can say, well, the Knicks play together. Well, yeah, of course they do, because we haven't seen the Sixers team even play together yet. This is a whole new roster with really centered around Jaylen Brown and Joel Embiid. That duo, they're the workhorse of the Philadelphia 76ers, and LeBron James is just the ultimate veteran presence that you could possibly get. For all you hockey fans out there, a perfect comparison would be the Alex Ovechkin. Of course, he's still great now at his age. He's one of those athletes, those rare athletes that just don't age. They age like fine wine. And the older they get, there's just not a whole lot of regression. And back to the Alex Ovechkin comparison, for the Washington Capitals, he is nowhere near the face of that team right now, but he is the perfect veteran presence that can still hold his own. And that's what LeBron James is now for the Philadelphia 76ers. So you can't say if the Sixers turn out to be the best in the Eastern Conference, they get through the Eastern Conference and they make the finals and they win the finals. You can't say, oh, this is a small Mickey Mouse accomplishment for LeBron James. Sure, give him his 4th championship or whatever. No, you can't say that. He's not the workhorse. What?
Fifth championship.
Fifth. I'm sorry, 5th championship. Yeah, because he's not the workhorse for that team. This Sixers team, I think, could still easily accomplish that. I don't mean easily like they can easily win the East, but they have just as much of a chance to do it without LeBron James, and then as they do with LeBron James. And just to add on that note a little bit too, if you're an NBA rookie or just a young blood in the league, I envy Tyrese Maxey and VJ Edgecombe right now. What better team? What better team to be on right now at a young stage than the Sixers with the veterans of Jaylen Brown, Joel Embiid, and LeBron James? Like, that is 3 elite leadership guys right there that can grow the game of players like VJ Edgecombe and Tyrese Maxey, who are already tremendous players at that stage. So it's just a dream scenario for Sixers fans inside and out. And as a Hawks fan, I couldn't envy them more, because just what a situation they have found themselves in one single offseason. And then, of course, LeBron James did hold true to his word. When he entered this offseason, he said that when he signs with a team, money's not going to be a factor. I mean, money is not a problem for this man. He could probably care less.
Like that, like, wow, he's going to be like towards the bottom of the most paid, highest paid NBA players. And, like, that's ridiculous.
Yeah, it's two
Yeah, I
years.
mean, man, that's pretty like ridiculous, but like also like, I mean, like it's LeBron James. He's already like made like billions and billions of dollars. He doesn't really need the money anyway.
And honestly, good move for LeBron James. I would have been a little bit like, it would have rubbed me the wrong way if he didn't sign with somebody because they didn't offer him enough money. Like, buddy, this is your 24th year in the league. You do not need money at this stage in your career. That type of contract could care less or should care less to you, and that was the case. 2 years, 8 million. So I applaud him for that. And I understand at this point of his career, he wants one more ring. He was gonna get there one way or another, and good for him for not making the Sixers break the bank over him, especially with the offseason they just had. They were probably looking to spend as little money as possible, especially after that Jalen Brown signing. So I applaud LeBron for giving the ownership that type of relief as well.
Yeah,
But yeah, it's going to be a fun watch for sure. I think I don't know. I'm kind of on the fence on whether or not I believe this is his last season. I think it should be. I mean, record breaking 24th year in the league. I would imagine that this is probably it for him. I would imagine that he's not going to go back for that second year, but I could be wrong. Who knows?
it depends on like how quick they get a championship. Honestly,
Yeah.
I
And I
think
also imagine that LeBron's probably the type of guy that's going to do what Kobe did and announce this is his last season so that the NBA can just give him like a true retirement tour where every stadium he goes to, they give him a huge standing ovation. They do a big broadcast for his final NBA game. I imagine that type of way is how LeBron would want to go out.
yeah,
it's important to note as well. I mean, LeBron was very vocal about why it took him so long to make this decision. And you got to remember, I mean, Adam Silver can suck a toe. I mean, I'm sorry, he can suck a toe. You can't force a player making a pivotal decision because you want to get the schedule. That can wait. That can always wait. And I'm a guy that's always had mixed emotions about Adam Silver, but that actually legitimately pissed me off because here's a few things you got to consider. This is a man that has given everything to the league for 23
yeah,
seasons. And he made it very clear that after they got swept by the Thunder this previous season, he legitimately thought that was it. Like he
yes,
had
he said that.
no doubt in his mind that he was going to call it quits. But then of course he starts to sit back and reflect on things. And nobody, I mean, that's a very sour note. Nobody wants to exit the way that he did. And I think LeBron probably did consider that given the household name that he is, he probably needs to go out on a more established note. But that takes a lot of big decisions because you've got to remember LeBron James. I mean, he's got a life outside of basketball. He's got
Yeah,
things you want to consider. He's been very vocal about once he retires from the NBA, he wants to be heavily involved in his kids' progression through their own careers, and he wants to be the guy in the seats. He wants to be the guy, like a Del Curry almost, after he got off broadcasting,
Well,
and things like that. And there's so much that goes into it, and LeBron has to play it out the way that he feel like is going to project his career the most.
or
And
ownership. He
and
could
that
go the ownership route. He still talks about wanting to bring an NBA franchise to Las Vegas, and he wants to be a big part of
Yeah,
that.
and I'm sure he'll probably stick his toe in those waters as well. But there's a lot that has to circle through the mind of LeBron James, and for Adam Silver to come out and say something so selfish like that was honestly such a bad look
I
for him.
don't think it's selfish, but I can understand that was probably a very frustrating time for NBA, the NBA leadership because,
Who
uh,
cares?
well, the thing is, at this point of the season,
they have to make the schedule. Like they got like women like Casey's kind of right. I mean, Casey's kind of right because I got. I mean, because like they gotta put the right teams on Christmas. They gotta like schedule like always like nationally broadcasted games like Christmas games, Thanksgiving games, New Year's Eve. Uh, uh, I'm thinking the Martin Luther King Day. Martin Luther King. Uh, they're gonna make sure that they're playing with the right games on actually televised on TV. On TV. On TV. I mean, they're not gonna. we're not gonna leave LeBron James off like
Well,
naturally
oh
to
no.
watch television.
I'm not saying that. I'm not saying that at all. But you
Yeah.
have to think about it this way. I imagine making an NBA schedule is a
Mhm.
very lengthy process, and I can imagine that having a delay in it is probably very stressful for the for the NBA leaderships. So I'm not going to call Adam Silver selfish for kind of like trying to push LeBron to go ahead and make a decision because that's a lot on his hands. But I'm also not saying that he's right in doing so either. But I think it's unfair to say that's selfish because that probably was a very stressful time.
Well, here's the thing. Here's the thing. Adam Silver is the commissioner of the league. He controls everything. He gave those players a certain window to make those decisions. And LeBron James could have waited few more days, even 2 weeks, and he was still been in that time frame. So if you're going to say, hey, during the off season, you've got until this set day to make all of your decisions, then you've got to respect if the players want to maximize those days regardless of what you've got going on behind the scenes. Like I get where Adam Silver wants to do. I know he wants to go ahead and be like, oh well, if he's going to the Sixers, we got to get him this national TV game. But those things can always be adjusted. You can at least make the schedules and then adjust accordingly, but don't publicly rush your own player who has given everything to your league, even though he is still within the right time frame to make those decisions. He
Okay,
can
okay,
take
okay.
anytime he wants. If
Yeah.
Adam Silver was really that bothered by it, he could have personally reached out to LeBron or his agent and discussed those things accordingly. But the fact that he decided to go public about it to make sure his voice was heard to
Hang on.
everybody,
Hang on.
that part to me was selfish.
It wasn't like that. It wasn't to embarrass or show aggravation of LeBron James at all. It was also in a way to like address the public on what the delay on the NBA release was, and he was like, "Hey, as soon as LeBron hurry us and make a decision, whatever, we'll have this ready." So it wasn't like that, but at the same time, it's not Adam Silver saying like you have no right to take this long. But you also got to put yourself in the shoes of LeBron James. You know that you're the face of this league. You know that the NBA schedule is going to center around you, especially at this point of your career. So you also have to say it's a courtesy thing of LeBron James of like, I know they're waiting for me. It can't take that long to make a decision. Like have some courtesy and have this made up. And I'm not saying he's wrong for taking this long, but you can kind of see like
Here's the thing.
put some mutual common ground respect here.
I would have been fine if Adam Silver displayed it that way, but that's not what he said.
That's not how I took it. How you're saying he said it is not how I took it.
He straight up said LeBron needs to hurry up and make a decision.
Sure.
He doesn't need to. If you could have said,
I disagree.
He could have gone out and said, "Oh, it would be nice if LeBron would make a decision
okay.
so we can go on." But the fact that he said, "No, LeBron needs to make a decision."
Okay.
Adam Silver,
Okay, just to break it.
Don't not wipe your nose.
Okay, Andrew. Okay, agree to disagree, gear to disagree, but we gotta move on to the next segment.
Yeah, I honestly,
You got your point out. I didn't jump in front of you while you were making your point.
I'm not jumping in front of you. I can just see this is going nowhere. So we're gonna agree to disagree, and we're gonna move on because this is a perfect segue.
I'm not getting
segue.
I'm not getting hostile towards you. I'm getting hostile.
No one's saying you're getting hostile. No one said. No one said you're.
Just let me finish, man.
Okay, we good?
I'm good.
I'm good. I just don't know why. I just don't know why you had to do that.
Whoa. Anyways, we're gonna segue. This went way off the rails. I think what I think that's a perfect segue. I think that's a perfect segue. Because I'm sure that I feel how Adam Silver felt. He said something and the people took it the wrong way, and he's like, "Whoa, take it easy, man." Banger reference right there. Yeah, banger reference. Drake and Josh, by the way. But anyways, perfect segue into our next segment because this is the type of energy I want for the rest of the episode. if y'all have seen the ESPN show that I don't think is a thing anymore. I think
It's
they
not.
took this off the air. It was called Around the Horn. And basically the way it worked, if you don't know, there was like a mediator with four different guys on a panel, and the mediator would present a subject. Most of the time it was like a hot take about multiple sports. Obviously, this is going to be Hawks related, and then he would let the panelists, he gave them a couple minutes to present their uh, standing on the take. And then he would give points based on how well they either defended or agreed with the hot take. So we're going to do the same thing. Andrew and John are going to be the contestants. John, you have a
So,
question?
quick question: what if me and Andrew will like def- like defend a take? I'm gonna I'm just like what if like what if you like both agree to defend a take or something?
So it's not about agreeing or disagreeing. You can either agree with it or disagree with it. This is just about how well you defend your take.
Okay. So we Oh, okay. So we can both like defend or
Yeah,
argue
it
against the
doesn't.
take.
That's up to you. That's up to
Okay.
you whether you want to agree or disagree. But what I'm looking for is like that your argument makes sense and that it's valid and that you explain your reasoning well. And like that's
Okay.
how it worked. That's how he would give the points
I
out.
got you. I
So
got
it's basically who can defend their side the best.
you.
And
Okay.
I'm not going to dish out points whether or not I agree. If you say something and I completely disagree with it, that doesn't matter. I'm just giving points on how well you defended that argument.
Okay. I
Yep.
got
So if everybody, any other questions before we begin?
you. Good.
Okay. I'm going to start with an abs. What just happened?
Oh.
You better pull this junk back up. Bro, I had everything pulled up and now it's just gone.
Just go through your history. Okay.
Alrighty. We are going to open up, which I think we're going to start this one hot. And I have my side of the argument here. I feel like y'all two are going to agree. I feel like we're going to have some common ground here. But this might be the best one on this whole list because it could go either way. Hot take number one. We're going to alternate first. John, I'm going to let you go first. Andrew, you second. On the next one, vice versa. And y'all get 3 minutes, by the way. I have a three
Okay.
minute I'm going to do 2 minutes because I want to get through five and I want to go over. So we're going to get 2 minutes here.
Okay.
2 minutes. John and Andrew, hot take number one. The 2021 Eastern Conference final run by the Atlanta Hawks did more bad for the franchise than it did good. John, your 2 minute starts.
Did more bad than it did good. Um, I'm gonna say it. Um,
I'm not gonna start. I'm not gonna start. I'm sorry. I'm not starting your 2 minutes yet. I'm gonna give you time to think about it. And
yeah, yeah,
whenever you have a side, then I'm starting your 2 minutes.
yeah.
So I
Give me
haven't
a
started yet.
yeah. Okay. I'll do one ready. Let's see. Did more. Ooh, gosh, yeah, no, oh no, oh yeah, you weren't lying when you said this is a good one. Geez, I'm gonna say it did more. I'm gonna say it did. Geez, I'm gonna say it did more bad. Honestly,
2 minutes has started.
yeah, I'm gonna say it did more bad just because, like, I mean, like the roster we had, it wasn't like the worst roster in the world, but it wasn't like a typical like Eastern with the typical team that would make the Eastern Conference Finals. I mean, we had guys like Trey. We had like Trey Young at the time, who was in his uh third NBA season, I believe, or fourth NBA season.
I think it was his fourth.
Fourth NBA, yeah, fourth NBA season. Yeah, he was drafted in 2018, 2018. Yeah, third and fourth NBA season. Yeah, we had like Trey Young in his third NBA season. We also have Kevin Herter, John Collins. Um, I believe this is also DeAndre Hunter, no, not Cam Reddish,
Kevin Herter.
I said Kevin Herter.
1 minute.
Um, Lou Will. And I think it did more bad because it put a lot of pressure on like the Hawks, like franchise because I think we ended up like paying John Collins like the year after and then like 2 years away and then like 2 years later we ended up trading him away to the Jazz. And then we got rid of guys like Kevin Herter. We got rid of Kevin Herter in that to Sacramento in that deal. We ended up trading for Dejounte Murray. We basically blew up that whole team like a year after. Let me see. My whole thing is I think we like it put like more pressure on the team when we weren't ready to compete for our chip. Okay.
Time is up. Time is up, Andrew.
I
We're
yeah.
gonna quickly transition. God, lady, you. Like I said, the moment you say your side of the argument, that's when I'm starting the timer. Go
Okay,
ahead.
I think I do agree with John. I think it did
Oh.
more bad for the franchise, and here's why. So when a team succeeds as well as that team did with low expectations, it does two. It can do one or two things. It can pleasantly surprise a front office and allow that team to develop so they can actually reach their ceiling in terms of raw talent, or it could create a sense of delusion that you have to stack that team or keep some kind of rhythm moving in terms of, oh, they're 1 star away from actually win the finals. And that's not true at all. I mean, 2021, we didn't have the expectations to make it to the ESC or ECF, but we did. We did, and it was the best version of Trayon that we've ever seen, the best version of John Collins, Kevin Herter, however you want to go. But the front office took that in such a weird demeanor that instead of keeping that same team together like the Knicks did when they were a few games short of the NBA Finals, and look where they are now because they didn't add another star to that roster. They kept the same rhythm going and let them naturally build upon themselves. The Atlanta Hawks were like, okay, they took out the equation that Trayon got injured, that we were just a few games out from the finals, and they felt the need to stack the team. And so much so that we gave Trae Young and DeJounte Murray, which on paper, so much to be excited about. But realistically, it takes away what made 2021 Trae Young so special because now he has to limit that version of himself to make sure DeJounte Murray is reaching his raw talent as well. And that's not good when you have a guy like Trae Young who did the things he did that year to bring the team to not an unrealistic level, but a level that was unforeseen. And when a team goes through that progression in such a dramatic way like that team did, it's going to give them the confidence that's going to keep that train flowing. I fully believe that the Atlanta Hawks focused that offseason on.
Time's up. Time's up.
That was quick 2 minutes.
It's like a chef. It's like like cooking show. The moment the timer's up, you can't touch your food anymore. You have to let go. And I also want to clarify something. I didn't explain the rules exactly right about the point system. The way the show worked, it's not like I either give Andrew or John the point each round. While y'all are talking, I'm logging how many points I'm giving y'all, and I'm giving y'all a point when I think y'all bring up a really good
Yeah.
argument. And then at the end of the game, whoever has the most points. That was my bad. I didn't explain that well.
Okay.
But John, we'll start with you. I gave you 2 points. And
Okay. Yeah, that's
it's
good.
exactly what I thought. Y'all both said exactly how I feel, and I figured that was going to be the case. John, I gave you 2 points. The first point, I think you hit the nail on the head when you talked about the pressure. When it put a lot of pressure on the front office and the franchise to meet those same expectations. And then you also mentioned something that was very interesting, how it affected and pushed the front office to sign DeJounte Murray, kind of put them in the headspace of.
No, no, I said John Collins. I said John Collins.
You mentioned DeJounte Murray.
I mentioned them both. I think. I
Yeah, you
mentioned them
mentioned
both.
DeJounte Murray.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I mentioned Murray and I mentioned John Collins.
yeah, and I gave
We,
you a point for DeJounte Murray because
okay.
I think you're right, and Angie, you kind of brought this up too. I feel like the franchise was almost like, okay, we need a star, like we're just a star away from the extra push, and it kind of forced an emergency decision that obviously didn't turn out well. Andrew, I gave you 3 points. And you said the same thing as John talked about the pressure. I gave you another point when you talked about the like it kind of set unrealistic expectations on the franchise, where like it kind of like put them in a headspace. Like the front office, or emergency decision. We need that star. And in doing so, it kind of lost the core of what made that team so good. And instead of and the third point, instead of keeping the players in that same core like the Knicks did, they let them scatter and it created division and inconsistency, and the chemistry was just gone. So after round one, Andrew, you have 3 points. John, you have 2 points. Great arguments on both sides. And as I mentioned, we completely agree on that topic.
Okay.
All right. Going on to round number two. And y'all both unintentionally brought in a really good segue for round number two. Andrew, you start this time. The DeJounte Murray signing set the franchise back a couple years. Andrew, the moment you say your take, your 2 minutes begin.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think it's just going to go back to the core problem. It's not anything wrong with DeJounte Murray itself. It's the fact that we took Trae Young, who was on such a rapid projection after that 2021 jump, to the point where it forced him into a completely different play style that he was not comfortable with. The team didn't know how to adapt around it. And once that energy was lost, we lost DeJounte Murray. And then after we lost DeJounte Murray, you could tell the front office tried to act like that never happened. It's like, all right, Trae Young, he's gone. The big bad wolf is gone. Now you can be Trae Young again. But when you take 2 years off of being Trae Young and you spent 2 years completely changing your play style, you're not going to immediately go back into that form. And by that time, the team is not the same deal that it was in 2021. You've got other players on different teams now, and you've got a new freaking head coach who doesn't play that same game that Hamilton did. Coach Ham did. You've got I said Hamilton. I'm speaking of you know who I'm talking about. I'll think of his name in a minute. But yes, you've got a completely different play style that you've got to lean back into, and you've got to do it under another coach who does not think the same way as your previous one did. And you've got to adapt to new players. And another big thing is the Atlanta Hawks could have spent those previous off seasons bolstering what was our number one problem instead of trying to figure out how to make another superstar work. So by the time Trae Young was in that 2-year mode after the 2020 playoff run, he could make another run into the playoffs, but not have the same setbacks as he did during that, because our defense was still weak. We were still getting out rebounded in the playoffs despite our success. And those things were what held us back other than the Trae Young injury. So we could have been fixing the small problems as the team was progressing instead of putting a big bandage on a wound that was never bleeding in the first place. And that's what set the
All right, John, quickly transition to you. The moment you give your take, I'm starting the timer.
I'm going to agree with Andrew. I'm going to say that the trade did push us back, but I don't think Andrew mentioned the trade results. We gave away Danilo Gallinari, a 2023 protected first round pick, a 2025 first round pick, a 2026 pick swap, and a 2027 first round picks. So that's 3 years of first round draft picks gone. For DeJounte Murray, and also Danilo Gallinari, who was a phenomenal bench piece for us when he was playing for us. I can't exactly. I won't be like one of those. I can't exactly remember like what those draft pieces turned into, but I believe no, it wasn't stuff. No, I mean, I was like, I can't exactly remember. I can't exactly remember like off the top of my head like what those draft pieces turned into. But I mean, like they were. But I mean, like we did make the playoffs in all those years that after we traded DeJounte Murray, and except for this past season. So this person had a lottery pick for the past two or three drafts. And those could have been like draft picks that the Hawks could have used to develop to develop in those seasons back in 2024 when we got the first overall pick. We got Zachary Shea. One behold, to fast forward 3 years. Fast forward 3 years, he's now off the team. So that's all I'm gonna say.
You had 4 seconds left anyway, so that was perfect timing.
Okay.
All right, I actually had the same result as the first round. I had gave Andrew 3 points, John 2. Andrew, just to quickly recap, I like how you mentioned that the DeJounte Murray signing forced Trae Young out of his play style. I gave you another point for talking about how that didn't affect Trae Young just that season, but it altered him for the rest of his Hawks stint. And then I gave you a third point. What'd you say for the third point? I forget as you get. I gave you a third point. I can't remember exactly what you said. I think it had to do with the coaching style too. How like it forced the Hawks to transition from Nate McMillan. That was the name you were
Yeah,
looking
I said
for.
Coach Hamilton. That's a Florida State head coach. I don't know where that came from.
And how that now you have a completely different roster under a new head coach that is a far different play style than Nate McMillan, and that alters a franchise. It could even set them back on top of that signing. John, I gave you point for. I love how you mentioned the trade package and kind of put in perspective how detrimental, especially draft pick wise,
I'm
that
shocked Andrew didn't mention that, but
and
thank you, Andrew, thank you for giving me something to actually talk about. Or else I wouldn't have been able to talk anything about.
No, that
Stuff up that you already.
John.
was a big missed opportunity for sure.
Well, you took off and you ran with that idea, John. I gave you another point for kind of talking about, like, in specific, how different the draft could have been these couple years had we not let go of those picks. And you know what, John? I'm going to give you a third point because it kind of just brought something else in my mind. Because you got to put in perspective how phenomenal honestly Salem's done with these draft picks that he's had. Imagine what our front office could have done. I know it probably wouldn't have been honestly Salah, but what our front office could have done with those additional draft picks. The Atlanta Hawks could be in an even better position than they are right now.
Yeah, but
And I think you
in general, but like we have Landry Fields. I mean, he probably would have balked.
he would have messed that up somehow. I'm sure he would have messed that up somehow.
Yeah, he probably would have messed. Not saying he
Since,
messed up on the Zach. Not saying that exactly mess up on the Zach pick, but
yeah, I guess not too much he could have done there, but in that result, I actually give it a 3-3 round. So the lead stays the same. Andrew with 6, John with 5. John, we're gonna go back to you to begin. And let's see, let me pick the next one. Um, hmm. This is a fun one. And I really hope one of y'all brings up what I have in my mind. I think y'all will.
okay.
The Atlanta Hawks, I want y'all to think about it because the wording's kind of weird, but I want y'all to think about it.
Okay.
The Atlanta Hawks are never as bad or as good as everyone says. John, we'll start with you.
What?
The Atlanta Hawks are never as bad or as good as everyone says. And I'm going to bring out this wild card. If one of y'all happen to mention exactly what I'm thinking of, y'all get 2 points.
I know. I already know what you're thinking of, Chase. So I think
I think John will too. I think John will too.
How do I agree or disagree? It's like such a neutral statement. It's like saying that we're perfectly admitted, which we have been in recent years. So I mean, I'm gonna.
Do you agree with it?
Okay,
You can't really disagree.
repeat one more time. The Hawks the Hawks are not as good as bad as
The Atlanta Hawks are never as bad or as good as everyone says.
You know what? I'm gonna agree with the take. I'm
2
gonna
minutes
agree.
have started.
Yeah. So So I mean, like, I mean, like they're not as bad as people say. I mean, because like for the longest time, the East has been like the weakest like the weakest conference besides the West. I mean, because like the West has been stacked. I mean, because like they said, they've had Anthony Davis, they've had LeBron James, they've had Luka, they've had Kevin Durant, they've had the Golden State Warriors dynasty, and like the Hawks. I mean, like we've always just been like completely like mid. I mean, like we've always been like like a team that consistently makes the plan. Like we've never been like a bottom feeder of the East. Um, we don't consistently like crack the top four playoff seedings. Like that's never really been that's never really been like our that's never really been our goal as a franchise until possibly quite recently now that we have a decently competitive roster. I mean, so yeah, we've never really been like a team that like doesn't deserve to have fans to go to the games. I mean, we've never really been a team that like demands perfection um, from fans. So yeah, that's what I'm gonna say.
Okay. You had about 20 seconds left, so that was pretty good
Okay.
timing. All right, Andrew, agree or disagree?
I completely agree. And it's for this one stat alone that I think is going to give me 2 points. There was a point where the Atlanta Hawks 500 mediocrity was really waving its nasty finger. There is a point where over our last 5,790 games, we were 2,895 and 2,895. And that goes to show that over the course of several years that the Atlanta Hawks always ran into that mediocre roadblock. And I think it falls under the thought process here. The Atlanta Hawks are never as bad as what they are. We'll start with that side of the argument because you had the years where the Atlanta Hawks were rebuilding, especially after the 60-win season. We started letting go of that team. We brought in young pieces. There was that one period before Trae Young where we had some surprising wins. There was games against Golden State where we took them down to the final wire. The Boston Celtics, we took down to the final wire. We were always shown as a pesky team. And then the years where we even showed a little bit of success. 2008, for example, we were the 8th seed in the playoffs, and we knocked down the number 1 seed Boston Celtics, who were the wild favorite to win the NBA Finals that year. Then it's the side of the argument that the Hawks are never good, as what we say. And that goes to show the lack of the banners we have in State Farm Arena. You could talk about the Dominique Wilkins era, where that team was on paper so dominant. We were averaging 50-win seasons, but there was always that one team that got in the way, like the Larry Bird-led Boston Celtics and things of that nature. You could even go to recent years. You could even look at the Atlanta Hawks years with DeJounte Murray when we had so much aspirations, we fell flat on our face. Or even this year alone when the expectations weren't nearly as high, but we shocked a lot of people in that New York Knicks series. So it's like the Atlanta Hawks, rather going into the season, we have high expectations or low expectations. We're always either going to succeed or under succeed based on what those expectations are. And the Atlanta Hawks have always just what felt like to be one step away from.
All right. John, we're going to start with you. I gave you 2 points for that round. I like the way you opened up and you brought the way the Eastern Conference has been the past couple of years, sort of the weaker link between the East and the West, which has opened up the Atlanta Hawks for the opportunity of not being as bad as everybody says they are. Even if their roster wasn't the greatest, the state of the Eastern Conference kind of gave them the room to be a lot better than people expected. And then I also like that you brought up the fact mediocrity. Kind of talked about how the Atlanta Hawks are always classified as mid. Kind of middle of the road team. We'll always somewhere in between a play-in, and if we're really good in our standards, it's like a 5 or 4 seed at best. So
I was
kind of
never
just
gonna bring up those numbers that Andrew brought up because I'm not good at math. So Andrew, congratulations! Like I'm just not good at math. So I was never gonna like get that number like down like correctly.
Well, I had to look it up. I had to look it up to know what the exact number was.
Okay, yeah, I didn't want to like look at. Yeah, I didn't want to look at it either. Either I just. Yeah, I didn't want to look at it either because I don't know like if that would count as cheating or not. But
Andrew. That's not cheating, by the way. If y'all
Okay.
need to look up anything, that's completely fine.
Okay.
That's the only thing I looked up. I just had to see how many games that was.
Andrew, I'm a little surprised. So Andrew got the wild card. So really, the round was 2-2, but Andrew won it 3-2 because he got the wild card. And I did not think we were on the same wavelength. My wild card was actually that statistic that Andrew read. It was really popular, like around social media when that
Yeah.
statistic was released. And that was my wild card. If anyone was going to bring up that statistic, I was going to give him 2 points. Andrew, I did not think we were on the same wavelength. I was a little surprised by that. So you got 2 points for that. And then the other point that you brought up was the fact that it always seemed like the Atlanta Hawks would suddenly knock off like contenders, title contenders. You brought the 2008 moment where we took down, or where we compete with the number one seed as the 8 seed.
No, we
But
won that series. Oh no, we
yeah,
lost. I said we won the series, but we took him to 7 games.
I knew what you
That,
meant. I
that
knew
was
what
my
you meant.
fault. Yeah, I
Um,
said we won the series, but we actually lost in game 7.
But
Yeah.
then inconsistency follows. It seems like we don't always follow that up well, and it makes it seem like it was just a miracle or like a David and Goliath moment. So I gave you an extra point for that. So we still have a really close race right now. Going to round four, there's 5 rounds, by the way. Going to round four, Andrew leads 9-7, so it's a 2 point race right now.
Okay.
Let me pick my next one.
I'm just not good with my words today, honestly. I'm just not good with
No, hey, it's fine. Uh, that's a weird one. I don't like that one at all. Here, pause it real quick, Andrew. All right, Andrew, we're going to start with you for round number 4. The Atlanta Hawks have spent years collecting talent instead of building an identity. The Atlanta Hawks have spent years collecting talent instead of building an identity. And these are on Reddit, by the way. If y'all want to know where I got this from, it's on Reddit.
I'm going to disagree with that. What seems a little far-fetched because we spent so much time talking about how DeJounte Murray screwed everything up. But that's a really rare case because I think the Atlanta Hawks really do lean on the identity factor a lot. And I think you can think about the 60-win team. I mean, nobody on that team is who you would call a star. That's the best version of themselves, but it's not like the Atlanta Hawks the year before was like, oh, let's go after the superstar Paul Millsap, Al Horford. No, they were players that developed into stars, and that is what you call an identity. You can go down the history books. I don't think the Atlanta Hawks has ever stacked years. I had years like the Brooklyn Nets where they got KD, Kyrie, or the Houston Rockets where they try to squeeze in Kevin Durant or the Suns or whoever you want to name. The Atlanta Hawks have never really been that team. And we've had big name guys like Dwight Howard, but that's not like stacking stars because Dwight Howard was not the best version of himself that year, so to speak. And I think the Atlanta Hawks have tried the identity route, but has failed greatly at times. And I think Trae Young actually was a product of that. And minus DeJounte Murray, I think actually Trae Young, they had the identity, but then threw it away in sheer panic. And now you can see the Atlanta Hawks doing that again. Even this offseason, Jalen Johnson is our star, but he's a player that we brought up from the College Park system into that role. And even this year, we didn't stack him up with stars. We stacked him up with pieces to recreate an identity. Because nobody we got this offseason is considered a star, but players that if they play their role, this team is going to be the exact team that Ansi Sala and Quinn Snyder want on the court. And even Quinn Snyder spoke about it. Trading Trae Young was not a factor of a failed project, but the Hawks trying to lean into one identity. And Quinn Snyder's got that factor down immediately, and you can see the way he did this offseason by getting players who can and rebound.
You slipped in that last word. You got to be careful there, Mr. Andrew.
Sorry.
All right, John.
We'll take a point away.
Can I forfeit this round? Because I don't know how I can freaking combat that.
I think you can, John. I think you can.
I
I think you can.
Look,
I genuinely don't know how I can combat that.
well,
Andrew, I'm sorry.
I will say,
You literally said everything.
I will
That
say,
Hey,
Reese said.
there are a few things that I want to get in, but I ran out of time. So
John,
there
I
are
cannot combat that. I can't.
I think you can. I really do think you can, John.
there are some things out there.
All right, John. I'm gonna transition to you. The Atlanta Hawks spent years. What was it? Well, the Hawks have spent years collecting talent instead of building an identity. Agree or disagree?
You know what? Screw. I'm gonna try, but I'm
Go
gonna
for it,
try,
John.
but I'm not. But I'm not gonna agree with Angel. I'm gonna dis. I'm gonna go against him.
I like it.
Ooh,
I
two
think
minutes to
And I'm
start.
gonna say this: we've been trying to build talent within the draft. Within the draft, Trey Young being a prime example, John Collins being a prime example. Um, guys like guys that like big names that were big names that was big names that were supposed to pan out like uh Cam Reddish, Jalen Johnson, Jalen Johnson being the most success, being one of the most successful names. So massive play. Uh, yeah, so I'm gonna say like those guys. Even you know, screen Zachary Reese say. I mean, he was the number one overall pick for God's sakes. I mean, like, even though like we had guys on the board like Alex Starr, Stephon Castle, Reed Shepard. Those guys didn't necessarily want to play for Atlanta, the Fields, Landry Fields wanted to take the best guy with the best guy available, which in that case was Zachary. Zachary say so that so at that point, I want to say that the Hawks have been trying to get star talent within the draft because the guys like uh, Zachary was a star player in the French league. I'm thinking to say it like himself. In the French league, he was a star player. Like he was like the Michael Jordan of the French league. Whereas with the NBA, he's just a regular guy. So he doesn't see himself as a like as someone who could be a star player for the. As a star player for, I mean, like for the NBA, yeah.
Okay, see that
Sorry.
very
I
very
tried.
in, they,
I
no,
tried.
very interesting perspective, John. I actually like a couple of things you said. Andrew, will start with you because you led. I gave you 3 points for this one. I got to think about. There's no way for me to write down why I gave you 3 points, so I think say about your argument for a little bit. Um, Okay, I like the point that you brought up. The first thing I gave you was the 2016 team. I think that was a perfect perspective for this. That you're right. That 60-win season team, that was 2015-16, didn't really have any stars on that team. There were four All Stars, but they were never big name players. They were just really good players that played so well together. I think that was a really good point. I like how you brought up the fact that what Quinn Snyder mentioned about trading Trey Young, how trading Trey Young wasn't a failure of like a superstar project that went wrong. It was just helping reshape the Atlanta Hawks identity, which of course pushed the identity narrative a little bit more. And then the third point I gave you, what did you say? What did you say? I think it also has something to do with Trey Young.
I talked a lot of. I don't know if it does. I talked about this off season how we never went after a star, but just players to build onto the
Yes,
identity.
that's what it was. That's what it was. Thank you. This offseason, how there were big names. Yeah, that's what I wrote you down for because there were big names out there that the Atlanta Hawks could have easily went out and got. I won't say easily, but they probably could have pushed a little more, probably given up a prettier package to receive them. But we didn't because honestly, Sada likes the identity we have now and just want to add a couple of like background pieces. Thank you. Now, John, I like the way you opened up and you mentioned how you brought an interesting perspective that we do it, but we do it through the draft. And how you mentioned how it always seems like we go for the flashy player, not really the one that makes the most sense.
Mhm.
And you're kind of right. And I like how you mentioned the Trey Young one, especially that we traded Luca to the Mavericks to get Trey Young. And if you think about it, remember Trey Young was the most popular player in college basketball that season. He wasn't necessarily the best player in
Yeah.
college basketball. He was just the most flashy.
Well, yeah. I
So
mean, I
and
feel like Steph Curry. You know.
and so in retrospect, there are probably a lot of other players on that draft class that would have made a lot more sense. But we went after the one that had the most headlight. And then I like how you also mentioned the Zachary Ricochet draft as well. How yeah, he was like the Michael Jordan of the French league. And but remember, we were actually going to go after Anthony Sarr until
Alex
that
Sarr.
whole yeah,
I did
sorry.
say I did mention Alex. Or I did. I
Yeah,
mentioned that.
that's what I gave you the point
Oh.
for.
Okay.
Yeah, how you mentioned we were going to go after Alex Sarr, but remember there was a lot of players in that draft class that didn't want to play for Atlanta. Alex Sarr didn't even want to try out, which pushed us towards Zachary Ricochet, who was like the Michael Jordan and was the most popular player in that draft. And I still agree that one didn't make the most sense at the time. So I think that was a really good perspective there. So I'm sensing a pattern here, a little consistent here. Andrew with three, John with two. So where that leads us heading to the final round is Andrew leads 12-9. So John, you have an advantage here. You need at least 3 points, but you're leading off. So this is your chance to spit out banger after banger. And if you can leave Andrew with like nothing to say, that would be your strategy here.
That's what I'm.
Um,
That's what I'm struggling with. That's what I'm trying to tell you. That's what I'm struggling with. I leave some off the table.
hey, that's okay. This is your chance to make up for that. Let's see. Let me the final round, and I know we have ranted about this. And I like the way he worded this too. We have ranted about this in our group chat, and we know as Hawks fans how aggravating this is.
Oh Lord.
John, the Atlanta Hawks always play up or down to their competition. Agree or disagree?
I'm gonna say I agree. We
All
play
right,
up.
John, 2 minutes has started.
I mean, like we've said it in these past debates, like you just said, Chase. We we've we've made these runs like in these playoffs, like against Boston, against Boston in recent playoffs, against New York notoriously, except for this past playoffs against Philly. We've honestly been like the perfect like March Madness team, honestly, if you think about it, because we've been able to like consistently play with these most favorable teams like the Bucks, like Philly in 2021, like the Knicks in 2021. We just been like the perfect, like that perfect team that no one expects us to get a game or two on these, and somehow we find our way to do it. And that was with the guys like Trae Young, John Collins, Jalen Johnson, DeAndre Hunter, Kevin Herter, Lou Williams, uh, Kyle Korver, Al Horford, like always, like we are like honestly we are the perfect like the perfect like team to like we are the perfect sneaky team to a sneaky team to make the playoffs. I mean, year, and I honestly think that like any Hawks game that we all watch, it's honestly gonna be it's honestly gonna be a certified shootout or a certified defensive defensive battle between the teams. I, that just goes to show like how these teams are coached by Quinn Snyder and led by Jalen Johnson and previously Trey Young. But I rest my case.
Okay. Okay. Hold up, y'all. This is interesting. Andrew, transitioning to you. The Atlanta Hawks always play up or play down to their competition. Agree or disagree?
I'm going to disagree here. I'm going to
Oh,
disagree here.
timer
Oh, okay.
starts.
we have ranted a lot about this, but I think that's more so on a regular season perspective because you've got games you can go back to last year against Washington where we got absolutely obliterated. You've got games where we can't rebound against teams we outsize or got teams that are missing star players that we should have won that game or should have coasted by, but played way too close without their guys on the court. But I think what matters the most when you're asking that question is when do the Atlanta Hawks do that? And I think in that terms, I have to disagree entirely because if that were the case, the Atlanta Hawks would be a lot farther down that path than what we actually are. And you can date back to 2021 actually when we played the Milwaukee Bucks. If you want to say that argument is accurate, then the Atlanta Hawks with Trae Young that paired so well against Milwaukee found a lot of success. But once Trae Young went down, Milwaukee easily got the best of us. But that's only going based off an injury. I would take this a step further. Let's talk about the 2015-16 playoff team. Well, we obliterated the Boston Celtics in the Eastern Conference semis right before facing the big bad LeBron James. And even though, and yes, we did face some injuries in that series, but you can look at the games when the teams were fully healthy. We got our butts handed to us. It was a 4-0 sweep. That was arguably one of the best teams in Hawks history that couldn't go up to a team just because they had one player that outdid us all. And I'll even take it a step further. The 28 playoff team that I just brought, yes, we played well against the Boston Celtics. But if you look at that game 7, the game that determined the entire series, we lost that game bad. I mean, it was bad. And yes, it was in Boston. I totally get it. Our teams were gassed. But I think if you're asking if the team plays up to their competition, that's not a good showing of it. You can even look towards the why am I forgetting his name? Dominique Wilkins era. If you look at the Atlanta Hawks and Boston Celtics team, there was one year in particular where the Atlanta
Dang it. All right.
I think you won it. I think you won.
I thought I had a few more
Andrews
seconds.
of
I thought I had a few more seconds.
All right, John. You needed at least 3.
I know John got at least 3. He
I gotta be honest.
He did a good job.
Jackson Collins.
Yep.
So John needed at least 3 points, and he easily got 3 points. He hit the nail on the head on a lot of different factors. Talking about John, how the first point I gave you talked about how we're always like this sneaky team heading into the playoffs. Like this. Sorry, Jackson Texas distracted me. That like this past season, how you brought the Knicks series, how we were, a good team, but compared to the Knicks, I think we didn't leverage ourselves very well. But we were the only team to beat the Knicks twice, and we were the only team throughout the entire playoffs that actually gave them the most interesting series. And then I also,
6, obviously.
yeah. Of course. And then I like how you talked about the whole 2021 Eastern Conference Finals run and that how you named out the roster. And with that roster, no one expected us not even to get past the New York Knicks, let alone make it to the Eastern Conference Finals. And especially when we did get past the Knicks, everybody called that a miracle, especially Stephen A. Smith. And then nobody thought we were getting past the Philadelphia 76ers with that roster. No. And then you mentioned Playoff Lou, who was the workhorse of that 76ers roster that got us to the Eastern Conference Finals.
Game 7. Yeah.
And then the last point you made off, I gave you the third point, how you talked about how no matter who the Atlanta Hawks are playing, it's going to be a certified banger, whether that's a good team or a bad team. If it's a good team, we're going to play up to par with them and, turn some heads. If it's a bad team, we're going to play
defensively.
We're going to play, we're going to play a lower level of basketball than we should, and it's going to be a much closer game than it should be. So that's what I gave you the third point for. So that was huge, John. You needed 3 points, but you needed Andrew to zero out here. Though John won the round, I did give Andrew 2 points. He made really two really good arguments here. Argument number 1, I like how you opened up with what everybody's thinking. How there were many games last year. The Washington Wizards one was a great example. That we would play several teams that we obviously outsize in a lot of ways. But we still got out rebounded on several occasions, and I know that was something I ranted about the most, or a lot in the group chat, was getting out rebounded against teams we shouldn't have gotten out rebounded again. against. And then I gave you a second point how you kind of lingered on this point, I think a little too long,
Yeah,
which kind of hurt
yeah.
your
I
case.
know I spent way too much time talking about one thing.
But I gave you a point that you named three different eras and gave three good examples from three different eras of Hawks basketball. I thought that was pretty impressive. I think you strengthened your point a little more. So that's what I gave you there. I thought you were gonna really hurt yourself because you spent a minute 30 talking about the same thing,
It
and I
was
only had
one.
one.
Yeah.
I only had 1 point down. Like, dog, you're a minute 30 in. You only have 1 point. And then you mentioned the third era. I was like, okay, it's pretty impressive. You made three different eras. So you saved yourself with that one. So a really close showing. Angie, you ultimately won 15-11. Yeah, I know the episode went over a little longer than expected, but I don't know if y'all had fun with it, but I felt like that was a pretty
Yeah, no,
fun
this is
idea.
fun. You know, this
I
is
like
fun.
it.
I'm just very bad with like my wording. Like with my
Hey,
wording and stuff. I'm not good with like writing papers, especially like argumentative essays.
hey,
Um,
good
my,
outing. Fi
my parents can tell you that, but
15-11. I don't know if that's backwards on y'all screen, but
Yeah,
no,
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 uh,
no, it's not. We can say it.
absolute banger of a matchup.
yeah, yeah. No, it was a good competition. Opened up a lot of good points that we never really talked about, and it's actually kind of surprising how we never really talked about how DeJounte Murray really screwed everything up. So I'm glad we spent a lot of time talking about that today.
If y'all if y'all want to
To be fair, we
if
started
y'all
this
want to see like
podcast
the
saying
final
DeJounte
tally and kind of
Murray.
go
Yeah,
through the points
that
here,
is true. We did.
there,
We
there
did.
there's a little final tally for you. Oh, dude, sorry, I forgot I wrote. Dude, that's
Oh,
embarrassing.
thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you.
I forgot I wrote that.
Yeah.
I can't believe I just saw
Dang! I
that,
should have Venmo Chase like $30 so I could get.
dude.
I
Crazy
can
work.
get it.
I
I'm sure
I
there's a way
completely
off the camera you can get some extra points, John.
I completely forgot. Yeah. Yeah, John. Yeah, after this episode, once we start living or we go live for our Talking ATL Hawks After Dark podcast, if you want to throw in some extra points, you definitely can.
Yeah, yeah. It's like extra credit. It's like extra credit.
Right.
Yeah,
But
I'm definitely. I'm definitely gonna get extra credit later on,
uh,
like 5 minutes.
um, so
Yeah.
I know we love run this episode a little long, so we'll go ahead and end it. I do want to give a quick little disclaimer though, and a lot this is my bad. Y'all are gonna be seeing this episode a little later than y'all should have been. And for me, when I post these episodes, just a little disclaimer. I usually do it where I post them after we record them, but I have it scheduled for a certain date. And I don't know, and you know what? I think I know what it is now. I think every time I've noticed that every time we take Andrew's laptop, which is where I post the episodes, and I take it somewhere that's not the apartment, it tends to happen. And I think every time the computer disconnects from Wi-Fi, it like stops the upload or something.
Yeah, that makes sense.
That's my theory. I don't know if that's correct. That's just kind of my theory. But from now on, I'm just gonna start posting the episodes myself instead of scheduling them, so this doesn't happen again.
Yeah,
So
because
I do.
the last episode still is not up, so it's still
Yeah.
not.
When y'all are seeing this episode, the episode should have been up a couple days ago. But I think because we took Andrew's computer somewhere and it disconnected from Wi-Fi, maybe again that might be completely unrelated. But this won't happen again. I'm gonna start posting the episodes myself, so we won't have this issue. But we do apologize because you will be
Yeah.
seeing this episode a little later than usual. Just a little disclaimer.
Yeah.
So
But yeah.
the disclaimer was this Chase guy sucks. Pretty
Yeah,
much.
pretty much. That's what it sums up to.
Yeah.
But for me, Andrew and John, we will see you on the next episode.